at another more extreme look for you. This time it's pretty much a springtime look, early spring, with like budding flowers and just, you know, nice colors, lots of green and lots of nose shaping and weird eyebrows apparently. Yeah, this is just what I felt like doing. Also, most of it is just eyeshadow and the flowers themselves are face paint. However, if you don't have face paint, this is small enough that you could easily do it with wet eyeshadow as well. So yeah, let's get started. This time I started out with a bare face with only moisturizer and lip balm on it. And I started out with Catrice Camouflage cream in Ivory and Peggy Sage translucent loose powder. Yeah. Pretty much I wanted to keep my face natural, but I didn't want dark bags underneath my eyes or uneven skin, so my skin but better, I guess. Yeah, so I started applying the concealer with a brush that I actually got off eBay for very, very cheap. I think I got it for free with a concealer palette actually. And then I applied some powder around my eyes. Immediately using a powder puff by Peggy Sage, which actually came with the powder. Because, well, if I don't do this immediately, then it will be in the lines immediately. Then I managed to get my acrylic nail in the concealer jar. So yeah, I applied that to my nose then. For some reason, my nose is always more red than the rest of my face. So yeah, just applied concealer on it to sort of even it out. Also, I'm trying to, I'm going to try at least to not forget to tell you what brushes I'm using. Because I've realized that I do actually tell you what products I'm using, but I completely forget about the brushes. This brush is by Sigma. It's a large powder brush, just a regular large powder brush. Was part of a set at some point in time. Then for eyeshadows, I used the sleek IDivine palette in Ultra Matte Volume 1, as well as the Decay Electric palette, which is actually pressed pigment and not eyeshadow, but still. Then using a brush that I got off Born Pretty Store for really, really cheap. I really have a thing with getting things for cheap. Point is, I used that for contouring. I started out with a pale green shade and added a dark green shade. Doing it in that order just makes it easier to blend. But I do always want my cheeks to be very, very contoured. So yeah, did go for the darker shade there. And then on my forehead I only used the paler shade of green, as well as on my jawline. Technically on the jawline you're also supposed to blend it out down to the neck, but on my other side of my neck I actually have a microdermal piercing, which I don't want any eyeshadow on, so I really literally only blended it on my jawline itself. And then on my nose I used I think this is a pointed foundation brush by Real Techniques, yeah. And I just contoured with it. I literally don't think I've ever actually used this brush for foundation ever in my entire life. I did use it for concealer at some point in time, but I prefer a softer brush for that. But it is very useful for nose shaping. I kept it quite pale and then went on to do my eyebrows in a darker shade of green. And for some reason, whenever I want to do eyebrows that are like fantasy creature-ish eyebrows, they always turn into Goblin King eyebrows. You know, from Labyrinth. Yeah. I'm not sure why, that's just what I immediately think of when I think fantasy eyebrows. I don't think it's actually an eyebrow brush. I think it's just a small angled brush by Sigma. That's what I'm using for my brows. And then, of course, there's always the task of getting the other eyebrow to look the same. But once I managed that, I actually darkened up the nose contour a little to make it suit the eyebrows a little bit better. I always like to start out pale and then make it darker, because obviously it's easier to make it darker than it would be to make it paler again. Then onto the eyes. For my eyes I'm only using a brush that actually came with the Decay Electric palette, and all the eyeshadows are also from that palette. So I started out with the lime green around my tear duct and also below my eyebrow. And I just sort of let it blend out towards my hairline. Then on the lid I actually used the middle shade of green, which for some reason is more glittery than the other ones. But slightly less pigmented, which is quite weird for a pressed pigment. But it does work really well. It just took a little bit more time to actually apply properly. And then to fill in the gap between those two shades I used the darker shade of green. And also sort of made a sort of an edge to it. And then applied some more of the middle green shade, because it wasn't opaque enough yet in my opinion. And then I used the other side of the brush to apply the darkest darkest shade of green underneath my eye to give it a little bit more definition. And in the inner corner I just sort of blended it together with a lime green. And then I just used a blending brush by Sigma to blend the lime green and the dark green together. This took some time, but eventually it looks fine. I still wanted there to be a difference, but I did want it to blend together and not be a harsh line. And then it's time for face paint. I'm using my trusty Kryolan Aqua Colors, which I always have trouble opening. And it's obviously very well loved. I should seriously clean this palette at some point in time, but I keep forgetting because I'm too lazy to clean it. Either way, yeah, like I said at the beginning, at least I think I said it at the beginning, I wanted to do budding flowers, like not flowers that are already in full bloom. I really wanted it to look like early springtime when flowers are only just starting to bloom. So yeah, the easiest way for me personally to do that was to paint them from the side. But of course it's just a matter of, you know, what you find the easiest way. Like if you want to do this look as well, I mean, just do whatever way of painting flowers you find the easiest, because it's already difficult enough to paint something on your own face. I mean, having to do it in the mirror and stuff like that. So yeah, I always try to make it as easy for myself as possible. Yet still challenge myself, sort of. So yeah. Either way, with this particular flower, I started out with pink, then did some shading in red, and then highlighted in white. And what I did is just paint the front row of leaves, then paint one row of leaves behind her. And the second row of leaves that's behind the, you know, front row, obviously, I literally only contoured it and didn't highlight it because I really wanted it to look, you know, like it has depth. And that was just the, you know, easiest way to do that. I think these flowers are sort of like tulips, and yeah, I really don't know a lot about flowers, but I think they're sort of like tulips. They're just fancy flowers, and fancy flowers can come into any sort of, you know, color. So I also did a orange one, which I shaded in red and highlighted in yellow. And the flower was just made in the exact same way, doing the front row first and then the hind row. And the hind row is only shaped and not highlighted. And because I wanted to add another color, I also added purple flowers, which I shaded in black and highlighted in pink. This is one thing I really love about spring, you know, seeing a field of wildflowers and just all those different colors, and it just looks so fun. I just really love spring, even though the weather right now isn't very spring-like yet. I'm really looking forward to springtime. But yeah, once all the flowers were on my face properly, I started making the stems of the flowers, which is pretty much the easiest part. I just connected it to the petal parts and then just made sort of a crooked line towards my jawline and just made it sort of disappear there. And then to add some extra detail, I also added some very tiny leaves. I didn't want any detailed big leaves. I just wanted some extra detail, just to fill up some gaps and to make it look more complete, I guess. So yeah, tiny leaves it is. And then those flowers were done, and I also added some on my forehead and on my other cheek. And then I used face paint on my eyelashes as well, green face paint. If you have green mascara, obviously you can also use that. Me personally, so far I haven't had any issues with using face paint on my eyelashes, but if you have sensitive eyes or if you're not sure if your eyes will, you know, deal well with it, be very careful. And if you're not sure if your eyes will be happy with it, then just don't do it. Because, you know, your eyes are worth more than makeup, obviously. Then for my lips, I used a green lipstick. This one is Atomic Serpent by Makeup Revolution. You could also use face paint for this, if you don't have a lipstick in the right shade or an eye pencil, stuff like that. I did actually add face paint, yellow face paint on it using a blending brush by Sigma. Oh, the spoolie I used just now was also by Sigma. Oh no, wait, that was by Peggy Sage, by the way. Yep. I keep forgetting to mention the brushes, sorry. Either way, yeah, I just wanted the lips to be slightly more matte and slightly darker, so that's why I added yellow face paint. And then, because at that point the the face paint was completely dry, I also used the darkest shade of green eyeshadow to shape them, or shade them a little. I just wanted them to look like they were on top of my face and not blended into it, I guess. I wanted to give them more definition. And that was the final step of this tutorial. I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm really hoping it will be springtime soon. In terms of the weather, I mean. Either way, I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye!